This conference will now be recorded.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Doug Smith. It is 2:30 on Tuesday, so it is time for our Monday through Thursday 2:30 podcast. We try to keep these podcasts short so that people can listen to them quickly. We won't cut into your day. This is the podcast where you will hear the science behind what actually happened in the opioid crisis. That's all we do here is we go over the science. Speaking of science, look on the screen in front of you. This is a graphic that we prepared, finished it this morning, that is going off tomorrow to Attorney General Pam Bondi and some other people in government, people at the Bureau of Prison. And you can see there at the top that it says the overwhelming amount of international peer-reviewed scientific evidence ignored in order to believe that the opioids are causing a mental health disorder as opposed to the actual genotoxicity and signature disease. In other words, if you're going to believe that the opioids cause something called opioid addiction, if you're going to believe in a mental health diagnosis that drove the opioid crisis, then you have to not believe, you have to ignore all of the scientific articles that are on the screen in front of you. Okay, and there they are right there. That's the scientific evidence that you have to ignore. Okay, and as a general rule, ignoring scientific evidence is not going to get you where you want to be. Okay, as a general rule, ignoring scientific evidence is going to get you to a bad place. But that's the amount of scientific evidence that you have to ignore in order to believe that opioids result in a mental health diagnosis called opioid addiction or opioid use disorder. And that is a tremendous amount of very good, very solid scientific evidence. Look at those articles. Okay, you can roughly divide them into two categories. Okay, some of the articles are about measuring the genetic damage done to the human body. All these studies were on humans. And the genetic damage was found to be in an area called the OPRM1 gene, OPRM1, opioid receptor mu1, OPRM1. That's the main opioid receptor in the body, and this is the gene that makes that receptor. Okay, and so genetic damage to that area of the DNA, genetic damage to the gene that makes the opioid receptor, we believe results in a dysfunctional opioid receptor. It makes sense. Okay, you damage a gene, you damage the receptor. Okay, and we further believe that this dysfunctional opioid receptor is not able to function normally and maintain a balance between the within the nervous system. Okay, opioid receptors are part of the nervous system. And so we think that what happens is when people attempt to stop taking the opioids, and why this happens when people try to stop taking the opioids, we have no idea. But when people try to stop taking the opioids, they develop what's called a signature sickness. A sickness is unlike anything else. It's a sickness that's not seen anywhere else. And that the hallmark of this signature sickness is a dysfunction specifically within the part of the nervous system that oversees the organs and the organ functions. That part of the nervous system is known as the autonomic nervous system. Okay, that's why when you got sick, parts of your body were not functioning normally. Okay, your sweat glands were not functioning normally. Okay, the mucosal glands on your eyes and nose were not functioning normally. Your hair follicles were not functioning normally. Your bowels were not functioning normally. Okay, you didn't know it, but your adrenal glands weren't functioning normally either. Okay, and this dysfunction within the autonomic nervous system results in a condition that the human body just can't withstand. And the only way out of it was to go out and buy another opioid. And that's what everybody did. Okay, and the argument being, well, you get sick and you see how long you last. And that signature disease is the other half of the data there that's just simply been ignored. It's and what gets me is some of this data, some of the best data goes all the way back to 1990. As our listeners know, I'm working on the book now, and I'm really struggling with how best to present the fact that this science, particularly this very important science from 1990, was just completely ignored in an effort to promote what looks like, at least, is an effort to promote the opioids, to make some money off the opioids, and to promote this concept of opioid use disorder, opioid addiction, brain disease model of addiction, and just completely ignore the science. And that's where a lot of the focus of the book is going to be. Is they ignored this science. They ignored this science. Okay. Using a new term now in the book, bureaucratic imperialism. Bureaucratic imperialism. That's what I'm now saying happened at the FDA. Is the FDA got so big that the agency itself became more important than the mission. The mission of the FDA was to protect the safety of the American public. Okay, but as the FDA grew in size and stature, the mission became no power for the agency, and the safety of the American public became secondary. So looking forward to getting this out in the mail to Attorney General Bondi tomorrow. Let's hold here for today. As always, like and subscribe to these podcasts. Place these podcasts on your social media, everybody else's social media, and we will see you guys here tomorrow. Thank you.